Alright, hello everyone. Today I want to rank all the sub-weapons, special weapons, and main weapons that were in the Splatoon 3 Testfire. We're going to be trying to go through these as fast as possible while being fairly explanatory. I'll talk about a few changes that I want to see, and I'll probably do a tier list of literally everything once the game is actually out. So subscribe if you want to see that. I'm trying to reach 50k before Splatoon 3. It'd be much appreciated. Without further ado, let's do a brief overview of the sub-weapons. So I'm going to talk about point sensor a little bit because it's the one thing I'm going to talk about burst bomb and point sensor. This is the one exception that they're not in the test fire because subs didn't really change that much. Oh yeah, let me put my chat box. Wait. I want you guys to be seen by YouTube. Boop. There we go. Now you guys are in the video. Just remind me to move it when I change. Okay. So sub-weapons is the one time where I'll talk about things down the test fire for point sensor and burst bomb because for the most part they're not really changed. There was a bit of a mitigation here because all lethal, or just all bombs in general actually, got a reduction to their max damage range by 40 units. So all the bombs got slightly worse. For the most part though, I don't think it changes balance-wise too much. Bombs are still the best subs. It'll really depend if last-ditch effort is changed. If that happens, it'll shrink even more. But for the most part, I think this won't change. So, for a TLDR, bombs basically do a lot of things. You can paint with them, you can poke with them, they're a good tool when you don't have neutral, they can combo, they deny space. They do a lot of different things, and they're also very spammable. So they're very good in pretty much all situations for any type of weapon that has them. That's why they're really good. Oh, sorry, that's down here. I forgot to move curling, fuck. For Great, we have Auto, Torpedo, and Splash Wall. These are subs that are a bit more situational. Auto Bomb is a very weak explosion radius. Torpedo can be shot down very well by specific weapons like shooters, and Splash Wall gets shredded by a few things in the game and also bombs, so it's a bit more comp dependent. But these are still very good subs, and you can still play these into whatever comp you're going into. Below that is weapon dependent, so these provide unique utility, defensive stuff with ink mines, location and jumps with squid beacon, and movement with curling bomb. But it depends on the weapon they're on. Like if you give a normal shooter a curling, it's not going to do that much with it, versus if you give a slow weapon a curling, it'll be huge for it because that weapon can't move a lot. For limited, we have Toxic Mist and Sprinkler. So Sprinkler provides passive paint, but it's incredibly weak when it decays, and Toxic Mist provides the little slowdown effect. But neither of these effects are substantial enough on their own, and they're limited in pretty much everything else. That's why they're a bit weaker. And then finally, there's Point Sensor, which provides location utility, which is something that is also done by other sub-weapons in the game. So that's a brief overview of subs. That's kind of how things are affected. If you have bombs, they'll typically better. These depends on your weapons a bit more, and then anything under here is probably a downgrade. For the most part, oh yeah, and line marker, duh. As for line marker, the reason I have it in good but weapon dependent is I think it's okay. It provides damage and location, so it has multiple utilities, and on some weapons it's very good with it. However, it doesn't provide the same amount of value as bombs. I think it's a fine spot for it to be in, though I'd like it to see a little bit more. I think it's a fine spot to be in, but I'd like to see it get a little bit more changes. Yeah, this doesn't matter. I'm going to overlay it. So for subs real quick, what I would do, I would give line marker a bit more damage and the tripwire doing damage, but even those are a bit less necessary. The main change I want them to do is make the sub-weapon paint your feet when you throw it. It's something Torpedo does, and that give it a lot of utility, especially for slower weapons, because Torpedo can do that, or Burst can do that. That would be a lot of utility for slower weapons. Like if you're a dynamo with line marker and you want to move, you can jump, throw a line marker, and then jump, throw another one. That would be good utility. For point sensor, it just straight up needs to do something unique that other subs can't do, so you could pick it. Mainly, the main weapon and special charge is the idea I came up with. I think that would be huge because nothing else would do that. And for some cases, you would really want to track how close someone is to a special. I think that'd be valuable. Toxic Mist, I still want to just have a skill shot element that brings back some attributes of Disruptor from Splatoon 1, so that's my hope for that. Alright, let's go through the specials, and I'll get the obvious one out of the way. Tacticooler is, like, unbelievably broken. It's not even funny. So, Tacticooler gives you swim speed, run speed, intensify action up, which is basically better RNG, squid roll, and surge, quick respawn, quick super jump, and special saber. And by the way, this isn't just like you get some of the ability. The jump accuracy one is the same as when you're grounded. The quick respawn works even if you get a kill prior, and the special saber is 100% of your special. Oh yeah, I gotta move chat. So, like, all those effects are crazy. The main one that makes it absolute... Oh, and on top of that, it can act as a mini shield. The main one that makes it busted is the special saver. Basically, it allows you to pop it. You can have 3 people run in, even if they have specials, and if one of them gets a kill, you all jump back to the tacticooler person, you push in faster, and you still have your other 3 specials. So the special saver part of it needs to be reduced. That cannot be 100%. Outside of that, I would be fine if they gave it HP or if they reduced the duration of the effect, but I don't think I would do both. And either way, I think the saver is the main way that needs to be adjusted. And either way, I think the saver is the main thing that needs to be adjusted. Overall, it's still really fun to use, and I don't really mind it being super broken. Just tone it back a little bit, but please don't do too much. Booyah Bomb felt really good too, honestly. I really enjoyed seeing the special. Like, in 3, it feels a lot stronger because there's no missile right now. So that could change when the actual Testfire is over. Sorry. Booyah felt really good because there's less stuff to shred it, really, I think, in this game. Like, most of the specials are more aggressive, and so Booyah could be very good at countering those rather than having to worry about getting broken by, like, all the displacement specials in the game. And 2, you'd run a bunch of things that can move, and those things would coincidentally do a lot of DPS. Like, if you had a rain on a Booyah, it would really help you shred it. If you had a missile on it, stuff like that. And in this game, there's less of it, so I feel like Booyah gets stronger in this game. At the same time, they also buffed its paint. There's a clip of it in the training room, but if you threw it at like a wall, it wouldn't paint the floor near it or something. That's changed. You can throw it at like a corner and it'll paint all 3 of them. So it did actually get buffed. Um, all right. Now it gets tricky. I feel like Trizuka is actually mega slept on. I really like the special. I think it's the best of the aggressive ones. The shot is really awkward, so I don't think anyone's super popped off with it because we're not too used to it. The whole travel thing is really weird. But that thing has insane range. It's fast. It does really good damage. It's 220 for direct hits. It's really, really strong, honestly. Like, when people get good at skill shotting with them, it's going to be awesome. And unlike Inkjet, it doesn't really leave you as vulnerable. You still have to be careful not to get too close to people. But, like, you're still on the floor. You can still swim around as long as it's painted. Hmm. I think that's everything for that level. No, reef slider lower. Okay. Oops. No, I messed it up. Now I gotta move my chat. Or no, I'm gonna hate that. I'm gonna hate that in editing now, because now I'm gonna have to recrop there. Oops. Um, I think Big Bubbler is still really good. I've kind of debated if I felt this was a good or average special, but like all the specials feel good, so it's hard to tell. The shield has nice utility. It is a bit slow to deploy and you can't use it in the air, but if you put it in like a specific spot, like if you're in a good location, it's really nice. The beacon has infinite jumps to it, not 2 like we thought, so that's good for it as well. The main downside is that you can walk through the Big Bubbler, but in theory with good Big Bubbler weapons, that shouldn't matter as much. I'll talk about that a bit more when I get to Roller, but it basically means things that don't have to worry about aiming as much can be better with the special than things that do. I still really like it. I think on tower control, because we know it can stay on the tower now, that's where it's going to be even better, but for overall, I'd probably just put it in S. Vacuum's about the same tier, I think. They're both really good at protecting, but Vacuum does different things. Big Bubbler is like to hold an area you already have. Big Bubbler is, okay, I want to enable some kill weapon. Like, here, T-Tech, go run forward and slay my enemies. I will protect you with this. And then shoot someone. But if you don't have someone holding forward with it, then it's not going to do a lot. It's very easy to ignore if it's by itself. So you have to have, like, the right comp and coordination to do it. That's what makes me feel like it's a bit weaker. The other thing is, if you fully charge the vacuum, that player can't squid form until they shoot it. So if you're like a Hydra shooting it, the enemy team can choose to full charge the vacuum and then immediately kill you afterward before you can get the shot off. So in some situations, it means it's like, I mean, it's technically not shreddable, but I mean, that's kind of the terminology I'm going to use here. Triple Ink Strike also feels really good. This is another special that has the limitation of you can't squid form, except in this case you can't use your main weapon either, even though it looks like you might be able to. So if you use Tri-Strike and panic it up close, it's going to be a bit difficult. Not too bad, you can still strike your feet, but you can get punished for it. This had the most displacement value in the entire Testfire because missiles isn't in the game, but even when missiles is, this provides a bit more paint and DPS, so I think it could be useful. Like, 3 of these combined does like 825 damage, which is ridiculous. Like, if you want to shred something with HP, you could just throw all your strikes at it and just absolutely melt it. I do feel like with a limited throwing range, it might be a bit more difficult against like an E-liter if you're trying to move them, because you have to be careful not to be vulnerable, but I really like it, and I still think it's good. It's just going to take a bit more practice than something like Missile, which is a lot easier to use. Whale is also really good. Like, a lot of people think Whale is weak for some reason, but you just need to push with it. Like, if you whale someone and don't do anything, the Whale will practically do nothing. They only have to move for a little bit. What Whale does provide, though, is the ability to move one person, because it only tracks one guy, while you're free to do anything. You can whale someone, and then move and chase them, and you have no limitation on you. Like, the special's up, and you can move around. That's a very powerful trait. It's something Missiles has as well. Like, the ability to be proactive while your special is doing other things on the map is super, super useful, and I think that's part of what makes Whale good, but it'll require a lot more coordination. Finally, I think Wreath Slider is really good. It provides the best utility for just getting in, honestly. Like, if you're just a Tetra and you need to rush forward, this thing gives you the invincibility to do that as long as you can get through the startup. Its explosion is nice. The ability to detonate it everywhere you want is good. The end lag is a bit punishable, but honestly, if you use it right and mix up where you explode, I don't think it's that big but honestly, if you mix it up and explode in different spots, I don't think it's that big a deal. I can see this moving higher or lower depending on how people get used to it, but right now I think it's an excellent entry tool, and we will see it a lot with Tetra, and maybe even a little bit with Aerospray. Wavebreaker's fine. I think the ability to break it is what weakened it a lot for me, as well as the height limit, meaning some spots is a bit difficult. I still think it's strong, and it could move up a lot, but its HP is honestly pretty weak, which means you have to put in a good amount of effort to protect it, or people could just shred it. My main worry is that you'll just be able to throw bombs at it for the most part, even if you hide it behind a wall. So I think we're really going to have to see how that changes. Outside of that, the waves give a lot of info. You can move around while the special's active. The location's useful. The damage at 45 is good. Crab also feels like it has a lot of impact. The ball form is surprisingly shreddable for the amount of HP it has, but the dual firing modes are useful. I'd say the main thing is this special's not really that mobile. Like, even in ball form, it's really slow, and for the standard fire, you can't turn super fast. So even if you have it, like, shooting super quickly, you have to wait a little bit to actually aim at someone who's slightly across from you. On top of that, being vulnerable on the top of it could be really difficult for it. I don't think it needs a lot of changes, but personally, I think it's a bit more vulnerable, so it might be a bit harder to get value out of. Zipcaster was honestly a lot better than I thought. Zipcaster's better than I thought. We'll have to have time to tell how vulnerable it is when it's being punished, but right now I actually like it over Inkjet for the whole abuse angles thing and being able to destroy people with them. I think Inkjet's still really vulnerable. It has the angles thing, like I've mentioned with Zipcaster, but that's the thing. Zipcaster kind of also does that, so that makes me really worried, especially when more weapons get these specials. Right now, you kind of have a difference between the Inkjet and Zipcaster weapons, but I don't think that'll last, so it'll depend. And finally, Stamp is terrible. Its hitboxes absolutely suck. I don't know what's up with that. It's so weak at actually getting picks. It's very easy to punish. And without Ink Armor, it's way easier to die. It's the only special I'd consider bad. Not horrible, which is why D tier is empty. But it does need some buffs in some regard. Personally, I would probably just have it protect you a bit more, and also get rid of the fact that Vacuum can eat it. I don't really get why that's a thing. Outside of that, I'd really like... sorry, I should also mention here, I forgot to cover these. One thing I would want to see with Zipcaster is the special drain. I want to be reduced a little bit, and HP from Booyah Bomb I think should be gone a little bit too. But yeah. Yeah, Vacuum could eat a stamp throw. I don't know why, but it can. Alright, so with the subs and specials out of the way, let's talk about the main weapons. So, first up is Blaster. I think it's solid. The kit's okay. The main weapon's a lot better with Intensify Action up. I still feel like other options are going to be better than it. And for big bubbler, aggressive type weapons, I think there's a better choice. The being able to walk through the shield does affect it a bit, and Autobomb isn't as strong, but it's still a solid kit. Like, it's not bad for it. It's just not amazing, and that's what keeps it from going higher to me, along with the obvious limitations of Blaster's lack of pain and stuff. I'd honestly put Luna in about the same. I think it's pretty solid. It has a better kit, but I think the main weapon's a little bit worse. I think the speed of normal Blaster is pretty good, just kind of swimming around, so it's not as dependent on jumping. But Luna having a Splat Bomb instead of an Auto Bomb is really nice, and I think it's a good Zipcaster niche for tower control specifically. Inkbrush actually looks really good. The more I think about this weapon, the more I like it. Now, it's true it's not as good as the Splatoon 2 Inkbrush Nuvo kit. Like, that one 100% is better. The niche of being able to stay alive behind people with, like, a baller is really good. But I do think getting a bomb to poke is huge. The special's still fairly cheap. And most importantly, whale is great to get in. You just whale the person in your way and you run forward at them. Like, that's your game plan. You farm whale, you poke with bombs, you killer whale, throw a bomb at the guy you're whaling, run forward and take space and get a kill. And you just repeat that cycle over and over again. It's a very different playstyle for Inkbrush, and I really like it because the Spot Bomb kit in 2 was just terrible because it had Splashdown. But now this feels like it could get this playstyle and get a kind of big bubbler wanna sit behind you playstyle. It could do both, and that'd be great for Inkbrush players. Octobrush, I think, is your main Zipcaster niche weapon. It's a bit better than Luna, I think, because it can move a bit more with the Zipcaster due to rolling. It paints a bit better, and it's a more well-rounded weapon. It's not that much better, but I think it has a bit more synergy with the special. And so for the most part, if you really want a Zipcaster weapon, I think you will be picking Octobrush. The big exception really being tower control. Um, Dooley's felt good, man. Dooley's felt really good. Honestly, I think these could be higher a bit more if they had a bit better ink efficiency, maybe, because using Suction's a bit tough. But the ability to cancel your squid rolls into dodge rolls is awesome. Honestly, my main gripe for this thing isn't even the main weapon, it's kind of the kit. I feel like when the game's actually out, Splash will be a better crab tank option for short range, and I don't really think that Dooley's can compete with that, because Splash is just really good and has an amazing kit. But Dooley's feel better than ever. They feel viable. I really like them. So I feel like if you really wanted to make Dooley's work, you absolutely could in this game. So Tetras are really good. Like, really, really good. It has gone from a splashdown that it can't do anything with to, oh, I have a special that will now run me forward and damage my enemies and protect me. It's insane. On top of that, there's no damage up to kill the thing, and it's got the squid roll canceling. Like, you can squid roll off wall, forward dodge roll after canceling it. You can squid surge, cancel with the roll. All that stuff that Dooley can do can be done even better with Tetra. It's going to be really good. It still doesn't paint super well. It's still a bit slow special output. So I think it still has weaknesses and it's not like a perfect weapon. But it's probably one of the best, if not the best Slayer in the game right now. Dynamo feels good too. I would love to put it higher. Honestly, the ability to squid roll horizontal flick is amazing. It might be one of those that benefit from it the most. And it seems like it won't actually have that hard a problem dealing with the armor. So I really like it. The main thing is I think, well, NZAP is in the game, and that's the better tactical weapon, and it has a bomb. But Dynamo does have angles, and if you really wanted to pick Dynamo over it, you could do it. But for the most part, I think this will be like, yeah, the map really favors Dynamo's paint style, so you might want to do it. I would like it if they buffed its paint just a little bit more, though. If they made it 200p, but made it paint 35 instead of 30, you know, in the middle of Splatoon 1 and 2's paint, then I think that would be fair. So I think Charger and E-Liter are about the same spots. Their kits just provide slightly different utility and range. E-Liter is better at defending itself since the sub and special can provide damage and it does more location, while Charger can be a bit more aggressive with its Splat Bomb, and the Vacuum allows it to be a more support hybrid, which I kind of like. Honestly, Chargers in this game feel like they're going to be extremely hit or miss. Like, let me put it this way. If you're a shooter and you're fighting someone and you hit like one shot, you're still painting over them with a lot of your other shots and you do some amount of damage. Charger is you either get 100% value and you kill the person, or you get barely any value by maybe painting over them tiny. Like, it's so extreme that it really depends like how well and reliable Chargers can hit things. Obviously they won't hit every single shot, but it's like, how many of those are makeable? How many times can you cancel a Reef Slider, or a Zip Caster, or an Inkjet? Especially when dealing with specials, it's going to have really good aim. But I feel like they're very solid and they could even be higher. Yo, Flash Cannon, thank you for all the bits. I appreciate it. Roller feels really good. This is like the best Big Bubbler weapon right now, though I don't really think there's a good Big Bubbler support in the game at the moment. It doesn't have the weakness of other Bubbler weapons because it can defend itself just fine. Like, if you're like, oh, I'm gonna rush this Roller who's sitting in a Big Bubbler shield because I can walk through it, you're just gonna get horizontal flick to the face. The curling bombs are amazing to move forward. There's no ink armor. It benefits from the squid roll. And curling with the special is good synergy because you can use it to quickly get where you wanted to play the Big Bubbler and set it up, which means you have to really watch for if a Roller's going in. The beacon is great for it. I love it. Roller feels really good, and I'm so happy it finally has a kit. We'll talk about that later. Brella's an option in the game. I guess you could pick it for Tri-Strike spam until inevitably some weapon gets to output it better. It still just doesn't do any damage, to be honest. Like, its damage is pathetic still, and it has a sprinkler, so it doesn't really get much help with that. Its ink efficiency is still poor, so with 200p, it's still not even the fastest at charging strike. Like, it still has tanking capabilities. Suction 180 helps it a bit. But, like, for the most part, I don't really see why you'd want to pick this weapon. And even if you really want this special, there's a better option for it. So, I don't know. I want Brella to be better. I love this weapon, but I feel like it needs some damage buffs. It needs a little bit more. Yeah, Brella can block some specials. Tent, on the other hand, feels really good. This is Vacuum, you know... Tent feels really good. You know how I said Vacuum is kind of situational? Yeah, this is even more so. If you have a comp that plays around Tent and the Vacuum, this is insane. But if you don't, it's just kind of okay. Like, it's still fine. The shield is bigger, so it can't get suction cheesed anymore, and it just, in general, tanks a lot better. The suction DPS and no MPU means the shield is more durable, even if it lost extra shield HP with its own MPU. Even if it lost extra shield HP with its own MPU. It's just a good kit. I like that Tent could be ran as an actual support now. That makes it way easier to slot in comps, and I think we'll be seeing a lot more of it. Arrow's situational. This weapon's really overhyped. Yes, Fizzy Reef Slider is an insane kit, but it's not the kit Aerospray likes. Aerospray is a support. It still does not have good killing power, and Reef Slider is primarily a killing special. This is still really good, mainly if you want Reef Slider spam. This is the weapon to do it, because Fizzy gives a good paint at a distance, and the main weapon can paint up close, and it's really easy to chain them together. So it can still farm and spam the crap out of them and have good paint output, but it doesn't really fit neatly into the support role, so it's harder to fit into comps. You have to really want a bunch of Reef Sliders, which I'm not quite sure we'll need. Pro is bad. Line marker with it's okay, but this weapon in Splatoon 2, with a standout kit, was only good against Tetras at the end of the game's life. Now, it doesn't have MPU, it doesn't have a lethal bomb, and it has a crab, which is better on both the normal dually and the splash. I just don't see a reason to pick Pro. It doesn't do anything well at all. This main weapon has had that problem forever. The main weapon for Pro has always been super weak, except when Damage Up was introduced and Booyah was OP. That's really about it, and I just hope they buff it. I really want them to just up the fire rate by a frame. Give it a 7-frame fire rate instead of 8. I think that'll do a lot. It needs, like, slightly better stats overall. This is supposed to be the splatter shot of mid-range weapons, but the shot is like solid at everything. Its paint's okay, its kill time's good, that kind of thing. This is just, it's kind of weak at turfing, its ink efficiency's kind of mid, its kill time's kind of mid. So it doesn't really have the same jack of all trades, this is why I want to pick it thing. So I feel like they need to improve the main weapon. Junior's a weapon you can play. I could see this maybe being higher in the hands of good junior players, but honestly, it doesn't really fight super well with the big bubbler, so it's locked to using the special super supportively. And yeah, that's kind of difficult. Like, big bubbler is kind of a hybrid. You want to be able to use it. Oh my god, my fridge. I forgot I'm on the cord. Like, big bubbler is kind of a hybrid, you know? You want to use it aggressively sometimes, not just supportively, and I feel like Junior with an aggressive big bubbler can't do too much. Maybe it'll still be worth it in some places with the output of the big bubbler, because it is 180p, which is cheap in this game, but it really depends. I could see it maybe being a good niche up here for tower control specifically, but even then, that's a very fight-heavy mode, which is why I don't see it there right now. So for right now, it's in you can pick this. I think once we see a more versatile weapon get it, like a shot or an H3, that's when we'll start to see way more of it and we'll see like the actual support big bubblers. 52 is really good. It basically can get better RNG by stacking Intensify Action. Whale is amazing for it, Wall is good. It's not as good as Splatoon 2 K52. It's not as good as Splatoon 2 K52 because the special is a bit more expensive and you can't use it to stay alive, but like it's still insane. It's your short-range shooter with a displacement special and a wall to keep itself alive. It will still be very good. Shot will also be very good. I like the Trizuka niche it has. It feels like it's the best weapon for that. It's a splatter shot. Shooters have been good since Splatoon 2 Endgame for a while now. I don't have much to say. Zap's the best weapon in the Testfire because it's the best tacticooler weapon and it has... Sorry. Zap's the best weapon in the game because it's a tacticooler weapon, it's a shooter, it has a bomb. It's literally ends up 85 from Splatoon 2, except the special is now the best in the game, not the second best next to 10 missiles. So, yeah, it's really good, man. You can run 2 of these and it'll be viable if they don't nerf cooler. I feel like Try is a very weird kit. The main weapon's fine, but now it's going to be fighting not all short-range shooters, because other weapons are actually good in this game, especially when the full game releases, so its niche is a lot worse. It no longer has the insane exclusive burst armor kit. It feels like it's going to be a Rainmaker niche with the Mist Inkjet, but even then, it doesn't do a lot of DPS to the shield, so I don't even think it'll be a good niche in that either. I think it's just okay. It's still fine, you can still run it some places, but it's whatever to me. Slosher is amazing. There's no ink armor. It's a more fight-heavy game, and it has Splat Bomb Tri-Strike. It's the best Tri-Strike weapon. The bomb can combo really well. It's perfect. The strike gives a good amount of versatility and displacement. It's everything the weapon needs. Bucket has a near-perfect kit. It's very hard to see anything I'd want to change with it. Hydra feels like it can actually be a niche in this game. There's less displacement specials, and it has a much better kit with Booyah Bomb to keep itself alive, so it can actually stand and hold an area like it wants to do in this game. It's a real weapon now, guys! I do think it could potentially get lower, though, mainly because a lot of the specials that are good at moving Hydra are also good at moving Booyah. Missiles can shred Booyah and kill Hydra. Tri-Strike can move Hydra and Tri-Strike can move Hydra and shred Booyah. Inkstorm can help with the damage to that, though not as good. That kind of thing. So displacement specials that are good against Hydra are also good against the special it has. So it depends, can Hydra players play well enough for that to still be good, depending on the map? Like, I think we'll see this on, like, Undertow, for example, or any maps where it's good to set up in one spot. Heavy is situational. It's not a bad special sub-weapon combination. Like, it's very good at Wavebreaker output. My problem is, what do you do when you fight a Rapid Pro or Charger? Like, you have nothing to help defend yourself, so you're just gonna get picked off at a distance. And Chargers are already better in this game, so, like, yeah, I don't know. I hope the second Heavy kit gets, like, a wall or a big bubbler or something to keep itself alive. Because it kind of needs that, I think, to function. Alright, so let's talk about this. Alright, so, I'm sorry guys, here's what I'm gonna do. Boop, boop. I think they're just situational. So, I think the main problem with... Oh, we have an ad, okay. Well, I'll wait to do that again. Waiting. Alright. So, I think Stringer is situational. Now, if it had a better kit, I could honestly see it being in good. It can paint well if no one's near it and it needs to paint up close to it, which is okay. The Wailford is fine. Mist is meh. My main problem is Bow can't really play to its strengths well enough. It wants to be like a chip damage weapon and a more aggressive variant compared to a Charger that plays around poke, but like, it can't really move very fast because of its paint and it can't charge full speed in the air to have that option when it's going for vertical shots. So, like, how's it supposed to play to that? It's super awkward. I feel like if you just fix that little thing, like give it a mid-air charge and allow it to paint with like a tap shot vertical or something, then it'd be a lot better. Splatoon is the better of the two main weapons. The Charge Slash is fast, and it does good damage. You can really poke people at mid-range, and the horizontal swings can finish people off at mid-range too. I think the main problem is people see this as a melee weapon, and I don't think it's a full melee weapon. So what actually holds this weapon... Oh yeah, and it's got Torpedo, which can combo with it, which is amazing, and poke longer range weapons. So what's keeping it from being in good? It has Ultra Stamp, and Ultra Stamp is meh. It's not bad for the weapon, it gives it a faster kill option, which can be useful, but the special just needs buffs. If they buff Stamp and changed nothing about the weapon to where Stamp was on par with other aggressive specials, it'd honestly be here. But in its current spot, I have to put it down here. Alright though, that's my full list. We'll have to see how these change when the actual game comes out. I'm pretty happy with the balance as a whole, and I think things are pretty good. Not too many adjustments are needed, so I like it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all later.